to Deadwood! Yeah, welcome to the world-famous saloon number 10. Now, this is the only museum in the world with a bar in it. I know. You know, that's why I hang out here. I love museums. Jeez, tough crowd, huh? Well, anyway, I know why you're all here today. Here to watch me play some cards, right?
Yes.
All right, well, I'm going to do that for you. First, I'm going to tell you some stories about myself and how I came to be the man you know me as today. And also, how I ended up here in Deadwood. Well, I can tell you it's been pretty tough to concentrate on stories with these cards sitting all idle like that back here. But I'll do my best. Now, when I do get ready to play cards, I'll ask for 4 volunteers out of y'all. So if you want to volunteer to come up here and play some cards with me, just raise your hand and say, pick me, and I'll pick you. All right. You guys know who I am? Good. Wild Bill Hickock. Exactly right. Well, James Butler Hickock. Most folks nowadays, they do like to call me Wild Bill. Like I said, I'm going to tell you some stories about myself, and I may as well start from the beginning. I was born in Troy Grove, Illinois in 1837. Quick, how old does that make me? 39, exactly right. Good job. Now, when I was just a kid, I did grow up in Troy Grove, but I really didn't make much of a name for myself there. I mean, sure, I got good at my shooting just because I practiced all the time, but you probably wouldn't recognize me till about 1865. Now, the Civil War had just ended. Well, I did fight during the Civil War. I was a scout, a spy, and a sharpshooter for the Northern Army. But when the war did end, I was just like everybody else. I needed work. So I took off looking for work. I headed west. No, I didn't get too far west before I stopped in my first town, a place called Springfield, Missouri. Now, Springfield, more just a stopping point for me, but I did find a card game right away, and if you don't know anything else about me, surely you know that I ain't passing me up a good game of poker. Now, in this game, I played with a fella by the name of Davis Todd. And Davis, he was a southern boy, and of course I fought for the North during the war, so how we got along well enough to sit across the table from each other, I have no idea. Man, that guy really did not like me at all. But we managed, and we did play for a couple days anyway. Unfortunately, I ended up owing him about $35. Now, $35 being quite a sum of money that I didn't have, and Davis really wanted some collateral, well, I didn't know what I was going to do. All I had was an old pocket watch that my daddy had given me, and I wasn't about to give that up. But Davis, he was relentless. He wanted something to ensure him that he was going to get his money back. So, reluctantly, I did end up giving him that pocket watch, but I told him, I said, now Davis, don't be going around telling everybody how you took that from me in a card game, because that ain't how it happened. That watch means a whole lot more to me than $35, and I'm getting it back. Well, the very next day, here's Davis Todd in the streets of Springfield, swinging that watch around, bragging to everybody, taunting me with it. Well, I yelled at him across the town square, told him to knock it off, but he didn't want to listen. He yells back at me, I yell back at him. Then what's he do? He pulls out a gun and he takes a shot at me. Landed right at my feet. Well, if you know anything about the West, you don't take a shot at somebody unless you expect one coming right back at you. And I don't miss. I lined up and gave it 75 yards across that town square at my 30 .36 caliber black powder pistol. Bang! One shot, right through the heart. Well, the authorities there in Springfield were none too happy with me shooting a fella down in their streets. They arrested me. They told me that I was liable for the death of Davis Tutt. I said, what about self-defense? He shot first. Yeah, all the witnesses on his side said he was just funning around. He wasn't really shooting at me. You know, I'm quite sure he doesn't think it's too fun anymore. Well, the judge saw it my way. Self-defense. I was acquitted there in Springfield. But I did figure it's about high time I got out of town. Now, as I'm leaving town, I run into another fellow who just happened to be at that gunfight, and he saw the whole thing. He was a writer by the name of Henry Nickel. Now, Mr. Nickel, he wrote for Harper's Monthly, he wrote on them time novels out on the East Coast, said he wanted to do an interview with me. Said the people out there, they needed a hero in a new frontier, and well, I guess he's gonna make me it. Now, in this interview, I did tell him some stories about myself. And yeah, maybe I did exaggerate just a tad, but not nearly as much as he did. By the time he told that story, he had me killing around 200 people. Can you believe that? It was more like less than a half a dozen at this point. But it did make me famous. I went from being James Butler Hickock to being Wild Bill Hickock, the Prince of the Pistoliers, the greatest gunfighter the West had ever seen. While the fame was nice, it kind of put a target on my back. Now every guy that had a gun wanted to be the guy that shot down the greatest gunfighter. Well, I had to be extra cautious from then on. Now, still needing to get out of Springfield, though acquitted, they were not happy about it. Well, I still needed work, so I took off and I headed west again. Oh, I traveled across Kansas doing odd jobs just to survive. I drove a little freight for a while, scouted all over that place with the likes of the 7th Cavalry and the 10th Cavalry. And as I'm out there scouting for them boys, well, I noticed a lot of small towns were sprouting up out there. Yeah, it seemed like everybody just kind of headed west on this big land grab, you know? Well, it also seemed to me not a lot of them towns had any law in them to speak of. That gave me an idea, maybe I should be a lawman. So that's what I did. Now, I cleaned up a lot of towns across Kansas, places like Fort Riley, Wichita, Hays City, a couple more, till I ended up in Abilene, Kansas. Now, see, Abilene, it was a rough cattle town. One of the roughest there was. Them cattle drives, they come through there, bring all sorts of outlaws and ruffians with them. They'd shoot up the town, scare the daylights out of the good folks there just trying to make a life for themselves. The people of Abilene, well, they were more than happy when they heard the great Wild Bill Hickock had taken the job as their marshal and was going to clean that place up. I got there, I laid down some new ground rules. Do not bring your guns to town. Certainly don't be shooting them off in city limits. But there was this guy. There's always this guy, right? Yeah. Fella by the name of Bill Coe. Bill, he was a Texas cattleman. He bought a bar there in Abilene, and I guess he had a little problem with my authority. See, I was a marshal. I laid down the rules and I enforced them. And Billy didn't want to follow rules. He just wanted to argue with me about them all the time. Every day it was something new with that guy. Day in, day out, everything I did was wrong according to Phil. Now, I think we all know how them arguments is going to turn out. They're going to come to a head someday, and this one was no different. See, I'm sitting in the saloon early one evening, you know, having a drink, minding my own business, winding down from a long day's work, and I hear this ruckus in the street. People are screaming and hollering, guns are going off everywhere. I run outside to investigate, and who is it? It's Phil Coe and all his friends shooting up the town, scaring everybody. Well, much like Davis, I yelled at him to knock it off too, but he didn't want to listen either. Pretty soon we got this big shouting match going on, and well, Phil reaches for his pistol. Big mistake. I'm quicker. I saw him reach for his, reached my drew first bam, shot him dead right there. But like I said, he had all those friends with him. And they all had guns too. Not by myself, I'm on the defensive. I looked up at them all and I yelled, "Who wants the rest of these?" Nobody said a word. Till I heard somebody yell my name from back in the alley. I turned, quick shot again. Oh, I shot my deputy, Mike Williams. Wow, some of you guys are laughing about it. Let me try that again. I shot my friend, my deputy. Oh, it's way too late for that, but thanks anyway. Jeez, that was a bad day. I didn't much want to be a lawman anymore after that. So I gave it up, and I moved on. Oh, I bounced across Kansas again, doing the things I like to do, trying to make myself feel a little better. I mean, sure, I had a drink or several, but I did find good card games about any town I went to. Now, at this point in my life, after I shot my deputy in Abilene, my friends were worried about me. They said I was drinking way too much, spinning out of control, wasting my life away, and well, they all wanted to give me a leg up of sorts. And when I run into Buffalo Bill Cody, now I know y'all know who that is. Buffalo Bill and our other friend Texas Jack. Well, they come up to me and say, "Bill, we're taking a Wild West show out to the East Coast, and we would be honored if you would join us." Well, not doing much else at the time and really needing some money, I said, "Why not? Let's take that Wild West show out there and show them Easterners just how wild it really is out here." Truth be told, I didn't care for that. No, some people are showmen and some aren't. Buffalo Bill? Heck yeah, there's a showman for you. Me? No, not so much. You know, I did get into a little bit of trouble out there. See, my friend Buffalo Bill, he didn't think it was right that I was drinking and carrying on during the shows, and well, he took my liquor away. But I'm here to tell you, it made me rather ornery. I shot the lights out of Madison Square Garden, shot a couple of extras with flags, and started their fans on fire because I thought it was funny. They didn't. I'd say by the end of it all, my good friend Buffalo Bill regretted every minute of taking me with on that tour. So I saved him the trouble of firing me and I quit. Oh, the West was calling me again anyhow. I had to get back out here. I ended up over there in Cheyenne, Wyoming territory. Now when I got to Cheyenne, well, I found me a card game right away because that's just what I do. I played for a couple days, was doing pretty good. I look up from the table, and in walks a lady friend, Agnes Lake. Now, see, I've known Agnes for years, and when we got back together, it's like we'd never been apart at all. I guess I could tell you folks I was rather fond of Agnes. Well, after sitting down with her for a while, talking and catching up a bit, I found out she's fond of me too, so I asked her to marry me. You know what she said? Yes, she did say yes. You know, I probably wouldn't even tell the story if she said no. She did say yes. We had a nice little wedding, and I whisked her away on a honeymoon to Cincinnati. Now, we did honeymoon in Cincinnati for a short spell. For a short spell, but Agnes, she hadn't worked there. She's run a circus by this time, and well, I had to get back out here, so I left her there and I headed back west. Oh, I figured to myself, Cheyenne seemed like a right fine town. Maybe that's where I'll go start working on a fortune so me and Agnes can retire. Turns out, Cheyenne was not nearly as good to me as I'd initially hoped. Oh, I went on this long streak of bad luck, you see. I lost all my money at the card tables. I ended up penniless in the streets of Cheyenne. You know what they did to me? They arrested me. They told me I was a vagrant. They told me to leave Cheyenne right now, or you'll spend the rest of your time here in the jailhouse. Now, not wanting to spend a whole bunch of time in the Cheyenne jail, I did heed them warnings and I left. But as I got to the outskirts of town, I ran into this big wagon train. Oh, biggest one I'd ever seen. I looked up front and who's running that thing? None other than my best friend in all the world, Colorado Charlie Utter. Do you guys know Colorado Charlie? A few of you do. The ones that do, great. The rest of you, pick up a book every once in a while. Now, Charlie and I, we've been best friends ever since I was a marshal in Hays City. And when he saw me on the edge of town like that, he got this big grin on his face. He says, "Bill, get on this wagon train with us. Huge gold strike in the Black Hills of Dakota territory. I tell you what, you come with us, I got a gold claim up there. You can work the claim, I'll drive freight back and forth, and we'll split the money 50-50. Well, being how it was for me there in Cheyenne, that was not a hard decision to make. I hopped that wagon train with him. Oh, all sorts of fine folks on there, around 200 of them. 70 plus wagons, all filled with goods for this town right here. Now we headed north out of Cheyenne, spent about a week out on the prairie before we pulled up at Fort Laramie. Now, when we got to the fort, they were excited to see us. Well, at least the colonel was anyway. He come running right out the wagon train, says, "Fellas, so good to see you guys. You gotta help me out here. Since these women showed up at the camp, I can't get a thing out of my guys. They don't get any sleep at night. They're staying up all night drinking and carousing with these women. Get them out of here, please." We look over, here's Dirty M, and Madam Mustache. A little tidbit was there, and well, this other scrungy looking fella actually turned out not to be a fella at all. I think you know what I'm talking about, right? Calamity Jane. Now, I also know you've been starting and spreading them rumors about myself and Calamity, maybe somehow being romantically involved. Not true. Come on, didn't I just tell you all I was married? Besides, have you seen her? Oh, she looks like a man. She dresses like a man. She drinks like a man. She curses like a man. She smells like a man. Yeah, no thanks. But you know, I probably shouldn't talk bad about Calamity though, because for all the problems that she has, well, she may very well be the coarsest woman on the history of this planet. But she has got a heart of gold. If If you've got a problem and Calamity Jane is anywhere around, she'll help you out, I guarantee it, just the kind of person she is. Now, we didn't get to be friends, and they all got on that wagon train with us. Another week and a half later, we pull up on the edge of town out here. We look down over this gulch, and it stinks something fierce. It was dirty and muddy and nasty. One street, Main Street, the horses, the cattle, the oxen, they go right down that street and do their business. People dumped their garbage in the street, they dumped their chamber pots in the street. It was gross. But people didn't care. No, they didn't come here for how it smelled or how it looked. You know why they came here, right? Gold, and lots of it. They were flooding in here by the thousands seeking their fortune. You know, I was no different. I wanted my fortune in gold too. I knew I had a working gold claim out there. I went right out and started working it. I worked it hard for about 3 hours. Yeah, I found out real fast that gold mining was not for me. But Deadwood being what it is, all the people, the gold, the saloons, the gambling halls. Boy, it didn't take me long to find something else to do in this town. I was downtown playing cards. Now I got it done. I looked at them cards. I guess story time's over. I need 4 volunteers out of y'all. There's one right there. There's one right there. Come on, I got 2. There's 3. Want it? All right, come on up here. All right, Charlie, you're over there. What are you guys doing? They're all pointing at you. All right. Captain, you're right there. I think we're going to be my bartender, Harry Young. I need Carl Mann. Where's he at?
Right in.
Right there? All right, get on up here, Carl. You own this place now. All right. Tell you what, I'm going to talk to these fellas. Let them know what it's like to play cards here in Deadwood. I'm pretty sure they know that they're pretty seasoned to me. This is pal, he's going to tell you all about what's going on in this town right now. All right. First of all, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all so much for helping me out.
Hi, folks, and welcome to the Old Style Saloon number 10. In a few moments, you'll step back in time to witness what happened on that fateful day, August 2nd, 1876, when Wild Bill Hickock was gunned down by crooked-nosed Jack McCall. The employees of the number 10 will set the scene for you, so sit back, hang on to your sarsaparilla, and we'll start from the beginning. It was during the latter part of August, 1875. Frank Bryant and a party of 7 gazed down into a gulch of tangled, broken trees, which from then on was to be known as Deadwood Gulch. They made their way to the bottom and began to pan for gold. Soon the cry of gold echoed up and down the canyon walls. They hastily built a crude cabin east of their find, but nevertheless went on a prospect throughout the northern hills, only to return on November 8, 1875, to post a claim of their discovery. On the very next day, November 9, 1875, a second group filed a claim just short of 3 miles up the creek. This outlined a stretch that was destined to become known as the richest placer claim area, not only in North America, but the entire Western Hemisphere. As news of this bonanza leaked out, the rush was on, resulting in a flood of mankind from all directions. The Army could no longer stop the invasion of the fortune hunters. By August 2nd of 1876, Deadwood Gulch, now known as Deadwood City, and often referred to as Sin City, had acquired a worldwide reputation as a booming metropolis. Its surrounding hills and creeks were loaded with gold. Even greenhorns were said to be able to find nuggets, well, as they put it, bigger than horse turds. Its streets were lined with substantial businesses, offering everything from an opera house to dance halls, saloons and banks, stores of every sort, but mainly saloons and gambling dens. Deadwood Gulch was jam-packed with every variety of mankind, good and bad. The likes of Wild Bill Hickock, Seth Bullock, Wilder, Calamity Jane, Colorado Charlie Utter, California Joe, and Preacher Smith. Somewhere between 4,000 to 6,000 of them. They came with greed or lust and high ideals, but the frenzied excitement that Deadwood provided well satisfied their pioneer spirits. Two guys named Not All and Man couldn't picture themselves seeking their fortune as prospectors, and instead built a house on their placer claim, number 10, which became known as Saloon Number 10. On the morning of August 2nd, 1876, Harry Young was tending bar in the number 10. His hair was greased, as was customary for bartenders in gold camps. This was essential as part of a method used by bartenders to collect a little extra loot for themselves. Before reaching into a prospector's poke for a pinch of gold to collect for given whiskey, the bartender would rub his fingers through his greasy hair, thus oiling them well. He would deposit the unoiled gold dust into the boss's take, and by again rubbing his fingers through his hair, redeposit the oily flakes where it could be washed out later. It said that there was a bald-headed barkeep who was known to have half a dozen hair pieces, all well oiled. His take was enormous, as the laundering process was more efficient. The dance hall girls had arrived on Colorado Charlie Utter's wagon train in late June, ready and willing to entertain the thousands of eligible prospectors. Some came with hopes of finding the right man, others came simply to make their own fortune. Their attire, somewhat more revealing than what was thought to be proper, was looked down upon by those trained in ladylike etiquette, but nonetheless, they brought to the gold rush an air of reckless, dazzling excitement. By August 2nd, 1876, they were well established up and down Deadwood City's main street, working around the clock in one fashion or the other. Honky-tonk piano and their songs of promising spirit filled the air. Many unlucky prospectors could find hope for tomorrow, for he knew what the night would bring.
They don't go anywhere.
Fellas?
About 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Wild Bill Hickock entered saloon number 10, seeking a little poker action. Charlie Rich, a gambler from Cheyenne, Carl Mann, owner of saloon number 10, and Captain Massey, a riverboat captain from Missouri, were engaged in a game of draw poker and were quick to invite Bill to join them.
Well, that's some tough stuff there, Harry.
Wild Bill's reputation demanded that he be exceedingly cautious. For instance, he never liked to sit with his back to the door. The vacant seat was so located, and a lively debate between Charlie Rich and Bill resulted in an attempt on Bill's part to get Charlie's chair.
It is not. You know I sit there, get out.
Bill was not given his request, and grudgingly, with great hesitation, took the empty chair. But after a few minutes, he
Charlie,
stood
I
up
can't sit
and
here.
again
You know
asked
what? Now
Charlie
get out of
for
that
his chair.
stinking chair now.
Bill didn't win this argument either, and on
Take
his
your money
rare
now,
occasion, he
take your
settled
chair,
down, sitting with
Charlie.
his back to the
What's
door.
the matter with this guy,
Reverence,
Carl?
though, kept Bill
Been
alert.
that well,
All
Dave?
knew him to be a left-handed drinker, leaving his right hand free to handle his pistol. As unpredictable as card games are, Bill found himself quickly losing to Nancy, who lost to Bill the night before. Bill asked Harry for $15 worth of pocket checks. Harry brought them over to Bill and returned to the bar and his duties.
Yep. You got it. Come up.
Soon, a shifty drifter known as Jack McCall entered the saloon. Bill quickly turned while drawing his gun. Recognizing McCall as a newcomer to town, he greeted him with a friendly,
Howdy, Jack.
then reholstered his gun
Your
and
last night
resumed the
playing
game.
cards. They can't believe you came back
Jack slowly
today.
circled the table, pausing briefly behind each player and analyzing each hand.
Hey! What are you doing? We don't need looking over our shoulders while we're trying to play. Get out of here, kid. Leave that guy, Carl. I'll be let him in here anyway.
Wild Bill's attention was on Massey. There was a friendly argument between them, and Wild Bill remarked,
Nine.
Give me a drink of that
That's
whiskey,
a
don't be
hard up nine.
upon returning directly behind Wild Bill, suddenly Jack McCall,
Take that dang user
the bullet
in
struck
my
Bill in
bar.
the back of the head, coming out of his left cheek and lodged in Captain Massey's left arm. It was discovered soon after the cards Bill was holding were aces and eights, forever known as the dead man's hand. All fled the saloon except Carl Mann, who was held at bay by McCall. Jack snapped the trigger of his gun several times. It failed to fire. Then out the door and up the street. He was found hiding in a building behind a butcher shop. Later on in the day, he was tried in a miner's court. The jury, being tainted and influenced by a deceitful defense, found McCall not guilty, and he was released. This decision not only outraged the judge, but also the general populace. McCall left the camp in haste. Upon reaching supposed safety in Wyoming, he began bragging of his ignoble deed. Word of this reached the U.S. Marshal, who tracked McCall down, arrested him, and sent him to Yankton to be tried again in Dakota Territory. It was determined, since the first trial was held in Indian Territory, that it was not legal. McCall was found guilty and hung for his cowardly crime. He was buried in an unmarked grave on the edge of town. Later, as the town grew, the cemetery was moved. As the coffins were opened, one corpse was found with a rope around its neck. It was easily identified as Jack McCall, the assassin of Wild Bill. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the time
And we'll be up here for a little while. If you guys want a picture with me or Jack over here, come on up, don't be shy. And it's not a spit tune, do not spit in that thing. Get a lot, they'll be on the streets getting another new gun fight right down in front of the Celebrity Hotel